I've developed a couple of eccentric hobbies-ish kind of things over the last couple of years. Okay, I mean, it sounds really weird, but I'm a darts fan, and darts is not really sport, but it kind of is. I mean, if you see dart players, they're not really athletes, but they kind of are. They're precision athletes, and so I follow the English Premier League, not soccer, but I do follow the soccer, but more so the darts. And so I'm a big MVG fan. So anybody, I mean, Michael Van Gerwen. Anyway, that's more than you wanted to know. So a couple of years ago, for Father's Day, it was for Father's Day, not for my birthday, the boys gave me a dartboard, a real bristleborn dartboard and some darts. And so, so when I get stressed or when I come home from work, usually I'll just go down in the garage and I'll throw a couple games of darts just by myself for fun. Now during COVID, I started. So I'm not really a huge Anglophile, I guess, but I kind of am, I guess. I watch a lot of British television. I don't know why, but I do. I love the British baking show, and so a friend of mine gave me Paul Hollywood's How to Bake. This sounds all so nerdy, but. And so during COVID, I started kind of learning how to bake using some of his recipes, and I'm not going to brag, but it's okay. I mean, I'm doing okay. I've learned to do some different things. Green olive breadsticks, which are really good. I'm learning how to make baguettes, which is not super easy, and so that's something that I've been kind of toying with a little bit. I used to play golf, but I'm the kind of golfer who plays once a year. I play once, twice, 3 times a year. I play enough to remember why I don't play golf very much, but then you hit enough good shots to make you want to go back. And so that's kind of how I play golf. But my boys have started playing golf recently, and so I think I might have a little bit more golf in my future than has been in my most recent past. Honestly, because I've got 2 boys that have both been teenagers and both have been playing soccer for so long, and Daniel wrestled also in high school, most of my hobby has been following my kids around and just watching them. And we learned a phrase, it was from an article that we read, because you can be those kinds of parents that I tend to be that kind of parent when they come off the field. Then I might say something like, man, it would have been nice if you had caught that, or something like that. And so, not that I'm a super critical person, but it's easy to come out with the critical stuff as the very first reaction. But I read an article and they said that the 6 most important words to say to your kids are, "I just love watching you," and then fill in the blank. And so over the last 6 or 7 years, I've really tried to make it my practice whenever it is, whatever it is that they're doing, to when they finish it, to just go and say, "I just love watching you play soccer. I just love watching you wrestle." And I can say it with genuineness, because I really do love watching it. And Landon didn't play soccer his senior year. Daniel didn't wrestle his senior year. And I think it hurt me. It hurt me more than it hurt them that they weren't doing these things, because I just loved watching them on the field. I just loved seeing them kind of grow and mature and become who they are going to be. So anyway, one of my church members came up to me one day and he said, if you'd like for me to make you a raised bed, I will. And so there's a little bit of a lot out beside the parsonage, and one day he just came up with some wood and some dirt and he made a raised bed for me. And but after he did that, then I just started, every year I would just plant a little bit of a garden. So usually it's squash, straight neck yellow squash or crook neck yellow squash. So usually it's squash, maybe a little bit of okra, because Kelly loves okra, but okra's just so hard for me. And then I'll just kind of dabble in other things. The first year it was collard greens, and I just love collard greens and turnip greens, and so we planted those, and of course those are more deep in the season kind of things to grow. But what you really want to know about is my asparagus. And so asparagus is one of these things, and y'all feel free to correct me on this, but as I have understood asparagus is something that takes a long time to grow. But once it starts growing, it's very hardy and it will just keep on coming back. And so I had just hesitated. I had this raised bed since probably year 2 at Pell City, But I had never planted asparagus because I was thinking, as soon as I plant asparagus, I'm gonna get moved. I mean, it's just kind of the, it's just, I was afraid. And so I thought, it's gonna take me 3 years to get this thing to where it needs to be. And so last year, before COVID, I decided, it was like February, and I decided I told the congregation, you know what? I'm biting the bullet. I'm gonna plant asparagus, and so I did. So I planted asparagus, some from bulbs, some from seed. I just kind of watched it grow, nurtured it this past year, and watched it come up, and it produced some really cool looking spears, and I just, you have to restrain yourself from getting them, and I just kind of watched it over the winter, and then sure enough, like first part of March, they just started shooting up out of the ground, and they are huge. I mean, you wouldn't believe how good these asparagus look. And they don't look like the asparagus that you're gonna eat, because once they grow past the spear, then it just starts getting tall and branching out like a bush, and which is I'm sure what replenishes the crop, and why you want it to not do it just yet. And so anyway, somebody's gonna love some asparagus in Pell City. And every once in a while I might just go sneak back in about this time of year and cut me off a few spears.
Honey, the asparagus
Yeah, the asparagus is missing. What happened? Byron? So.
So it was prophetic.
It was, yeah, it kind of was.